whether to use a capsule, in other words a powder, or a liquid. Okay, so diagnostically the remedy is shown up, the patient strengthens to whatever it might be. Let's say pyridoxal 5-phosphate, because that's a common one. Yep. Oh, because you showed to it. Yes. Well, probably half the room will. Pyridoxal 5-phosphate deficiency is pretty pandemic. But the question is the liquid or the capsule, the powder, the better form? Sometimes it doesn't matter. Either will do fine. But how you assess that is if the patient strengthens to it, and you want to know if there's a liquid and a capsule product, which is the better one, apart from just doing a verbal challenge, is to do the left brain and the right brain. And very often you'll find that one will work better on both brains and one will work better on one brain. Okay, so you need to identify that. Because if you give a product which only works on one brain very well, it's not going to be as good as obviously one that works on both brains. Okay? So the other aspect which I keep getting asked about, and frustratingly really sometimes, because people you think, well, should know how to dose. Okay? And they turn around and say, well, how many capsules should I take? Practitioners. And I say, well, test. So the question is, optimal products, not optimal dose. If a product is an optimal product, in other words, it works, does it work in all departments? Does it work in the hormones, the brain chemicals, etc.? So what I do is I test it against CV22 on the top of here, which I count as the corpus callosum. In other words, does it work on left brain, right brain? Does it work on, that should be GV20 by the way, not 21, in other words, the hypothalamus. And does it work on GV28, which is on the cruciate suture, which is for the pituitary gland? So does it work on the all systems? And if the answer is yes, and then test it on the right brain and the left brain, which is what we've just been describing. Dosing. So the amount you need is the amount that strengthens the patient, either against retreating the acupuncture point, or the phonocardiograph, or the MOVE. They should all give you the same result. The amount of liquid or capsules that strengthen the weak muscle. Timing. Okay, how often do you give it, and when do you give it? Very, very important, isn't it? So timing, cross-therapy localized with the nutrient on to the alarm points. And this is where we use the alarm points rather than the beginning points for remaining strong. Those that remain strong are the optimal times. So if it's a food supplement, the technique is going to be basically to test it at meal times, because that's when you would get it, wouldn't it? So if it's a food supplement, something you would normally get from your food, and then you test it at breakfast, lunch and dinner. And breakfast time is usually in standard time, and we're in 1 hour ahead at the moment, is 7 till 9, which is stomach time. That's breakfast. Remember at the moment we're set 1 hour ahead, so that's 8 till 10. So if you eat before 8, take your supplements just after. Okay? So if you don't have breakfast, then you force it down between 8 and 10 with some water. One exception to this really is you can take it down with anything really, but what we have found is that P5P, pyridoxal 5-phosphate, whether it's in liquid form or capsule, is best not taken with orange juice. I don't know why, but it doesn't work. There's something that antidotes it. Okay? And it's something worth remembering, because when we had breakfast this morning here, there was a father and child next to us, and the child said, I want a glass of orange juice. And it immediately reminded me not to give children orange juice, really, if they're having vitamins, because it will negate the effect, certainly, of pyridoxal 5-phosphate. And I'm wondering how much orange juice does harm in other departments. And it's not the citric acid, because these people are okay with grapefruit and with lemon juice, but it's orange juice. There's something in orange which negates the effects of certainly pyridoxal 5-phosphate. And almost anything else will work. Sometimes zinc doesn't work so well either in P5P. But if they want orange juice, then have it at another part of the day, but not at breakfast time. Okay? So stomach time is 7 till 9, 8 till 10 at the moment. Small intestine is 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock, but now, of course, in summer saving time, it should be more the continental time, 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock rather, till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So a late lunch is better. Dinner time is circulation sacs, which is 7 till 9 in the evening, but in the summer is 8 till 10. Or triple warmer, which is going to be 9 to 11 or 10 till 12, which is bedtime for some nutrients. Okay, so we use the alarm points for this. So basically, you've got the patient in strength, they strengthen to their nutrient, and then you say, how do you like in relationship to your food, stomach time, small intestine, lunchtime, circulation, sex for supper. The ones that they weaken to, that's when you don't give it. Okay? Obviously the ones that say strong, and we'll demonstrate that on our patient a bit later. Timing, amino acids generally are 15 minutes before breakfast. They're preformed, so they don't actually have to be digested in any way, so they go straight in. So you don't need digestive enzymes, so you take those 15 minutes before breakfast. Vitamins and minerals generally are better with meals. Fatty acids are better always with the evening meal. So if you take any oils, omega-3s or whatever it might be, take them with the evening meal because that's when we produce most lipase, digestive enzyme. Probiotics, CoQ10, folic acid, hate acid. Okay? So you need to take those when your stomach acid is at its lowest while you're awake, which is just before bed. So probiotics, remember, you empty the, they're not in capsules, empty glass, put the probiotic in the bottom of the glass, add the water and stir. Okay? Leave it for 5 minutes or so, or a few minutes just to let it sort of activate, get those dormant bacteria moving. Do not use tap water because it's got chlorine in it, and chlorine is an antiseptic at the best of times, so you don't want to kill off half the bacteria that you put in there. So use mineral water for that purpose. CoQ10, similarly, always better in oil anyway, but hates hydrochloric acid, as does folic acid. So those all need to be taken last thing at night. Herbs and spices are medicines, really, so they're better between or before meals rather than actually during, if you can. If you've got a hefty spice, like a hot spice, you may want to take it more with a meal. You know, taking 4 or 5 ginger capsules or cayenne pepper on an empty stomach can be pretty hard go. Okay, so what we want to do now is a patient protocol. Okay, so what we're going to decide to do, we'll come back to you, Sylvie, because we've done you really, basically. So what we want to do is go through how we would look at a patient completely, all right, with it, and so you get some ideas and we fill in the missing bits of the jigsaw puzzle. So what I'm going to do is, Christine, we're going to start right at the beginning and test her body type. So if we go there. So first of all, we want to test a couple of muscles. So test rectus femoris on both sides. You can use any muscle for testing this, biochemistry and things. You don't have to use rectus femoris. We're using it because A, it's the strongest muscle in the body, and B, we've still got 2 arms free. But if you wanted to use a gluteus medius, a piriformis, or anything else, that would be fine. So right at the very beginning of our work is the acetates. So what body shape? And I explain to the patients as I'm going along. Some people are tall. Some people are shorter and some are in the middle. So I start with the one that they're not. So how tall are you, Christine? 5'2". 5'2", okay. So she's told us a good idea. So test with the green one first. So we always say this is the green giant. These are people from sort of like Scandinavians. We'd be highly surprised if she weakened to that one. Okay. You could have a short green, but we haven't, not many of them. Okay. Then do the red, because it gets the feel. The patient gets the feel then of what is strong. If you go straight into the one that you think is going to weaken, and if they haven't done this before, they may say, "Well, you're pushing harder, etc." Now go in and. So try the other leg to make sure that both brains are picking this up. Excellent. Okay, good. So at the moment she's showing to being blue, which is what we'd expect. 5'5" and below. Patient asks, well, what does that mean? The answer is you say, you know, you've got a genetically you've got a sort of body type which tends to have a shorter stature, and you're dominated more by the most important gland in there, or dominating gland, are the gonads. In which case, this is the ovaries. So most often anybody with this, their history will be problems down below. So don't be at all surprised if she tells us she's got problems down below or had problems down below. I'm not saying she hasn't. Okay. Right, if you could flick back to the protocol. Number 2, cross-extensor reflexes. Okay, so we know which body type she is. Sorry, if you go back to the body type, and now just check that it's blue on each eye. Okay, so let's make sure she's a true blue, because sometimes we do get a hybrid there, which we need to sort out. Excellent, so she's a blue. So let's go back now, Gary. Okay, cross-extensor reflexes. So what Jill's going to do is take the rectus femoris here and tap the reflex on the opposite side and muscle test it. and then do the reverse. Strong muscle, tap. So remember what that does. It mimics the gait mechanism. So when you tap the reflex on one knee, the opposite knee has gone behind, so it should become inhibited. That's normal. Okay? So if that's normal, it means there's no major spinal blockage up to the reflexes to the central area and back down again to the motor cortex. So what we want to know is at this stage, information is going from the body to the brain and back again. If there's a problem and that cross-extensor reflex doesn't work, then it's usually there's a spinal problem, and you therapy localize from the top down, finding which one opens the reflex up. So remember, we always do the top down because the top ones have more mechanoreceptors than anywhere else. So 90% of the sensory input comes from the mechanoreceptors in the joints, and they arrange rostral to caudal, in other words, top to bottom. So we start with the atlas occiput and we work our way down, and you treat any one or ones which show positive. But our patient here is clear. Now we do the conscious, subconscious, emotional balance. So with one hand we go on the emotional stress points, the conscious ones, just below the frontal eminences there. So we're halfway really between the frontal eminences and the eyebrows. That's where the orbital frontal lobes are of the frontal lobe. And this is the executive centres. They're about the size of a walnut, so they're quite small in there. And that's where we do 5% of our thinking is done when we make decisions. So in relationship to that, now do across the greater wings of the sphenoid. So your thumb on one greater wing of the sphenoid and the index finger on the or middle finger on the other one. So in relationship to the conscious, how do you like your subconscious? Fine. No. Eyes open or closed, doesn't matter. Now do the opposite way round. Take them off, and then we'll do the subconscious ones first to the conscious, because sometimes it works the other way around or doesn't work. So in relationship to her conscious isn't very happy. So she needs 1 minute zapping with the mirror on light into the umbilicus. So if you remember how I did this morning, what we do here is you hold that and you explain about the conscious thinking parts, which is what she's... And people understand that, and they become active. They get more blood flow when you're thinking, and they can pick that up on thermography. So this is where our decisions and our thoughts operate through. It doesn't mean that's where we make decisions, but that's the area of the brain where it operates through. Because the mind, according to psychologists, isn't in any location. It just works through the brain, but that's not where it's from. Well, the subconscious points is the database. So everything that we've ever tasted, touched, smelled, heard, felt, etc. is all recorded. Everything is recorded in there. And so that's the answer of where we want to go to. We want to go into that database and see whether she can help us find out what it is that's wrong with us. And by that time, you explain that. A bit of mumbo-jumbo here and there, the minute's up. Okay? Oh, have I got to mumbo-jumbo a bit longer? Okay. All right, so now, okay, we're away. Right, now, what we're going to do at this stage is we're going to do a cardiograph, okay? Now, we could, if she wasn't a sports person and we didn't want to do the cardiograph, it doesn't matter. We go straight to the beginning ending points, but for the sake of the demo, we're going to do both. So, Christine, if you'd like to go and sit over there. So remember what it is. We bring up the program here. In this case, it's the Think Labs program. Switch the stethoscope on. Jill's going to listen to where the best place is. Herb's point is the usual one in the third intercostal space on the left. Get a nice, good sound. Patient's relaxed. Maybe drop the patient forward a little bit if you can't hear very well, because the heart will drop forward as an organ. And we're away. Now, while she's doing this, we want to bring in the telephone. So this is where the experiment. Now, she's not going to know when the telephone is on or off. Okay? So we're going to just keep recording now, and you're going to put the telephone on her, but we don't know whether the telephone is on or off. In other words, is a message gone through or not? It's when the telephone is open. Okay, now I want you to watch when the telephone goes on, if there's a change on the recording. Okay, whenever you want. Now when you have a look at this, remember what you're looking for? You're looking for first sound, second sound, aren't you? The rest of us are going to concentrate here. come off. No. No, that's the whole experiment. You keep going. What? You heard the change. We didn't. Have you put the live phone on?
Yeah, the phone, and now I switched it
Oh, right. So you've done it. Oh, right. What happened? I didn't know you put it on live. It went quieter. I saw that quieter period. Can we go back? Should we do it again? Yeah, go back. Let's have a look. Let's just interpret this one first. Yeah, there's a quieter period, that's for sure. Yeah, see whoa. See, the sound's nearly disappeared here. I don't know whether that was when the phone went on, but I'll be more reserved. What I didn't want to hear is when the phone went on. I didn't want her to know when the phone went on, and I certainly didn't want it to ring, because you get a reaction, of course, to the noise. So what I told him is to turn it onto silent and put it on and off a few times so nobody knew whether it was on or off. Okay, and then we would see if there was a change in the cardiograph to the electromagnetic difference. Because the thing that concerns me is people put the phone here. There's a lot about it now. Does putting a phone in there next to your heart make a difference? Because a lot of men do that. Women don't do it so much. The safest thing with a mobile phone is to put it in your wife's handbag. Or your own handbag if you are the wife. Or whatever, okay? Do not put it here for a man. Or here, or here. Even the iPhone manual tells you don't put it there. Okay? You have to have at least 3/4 of an inch away from your ear. It's highly dangerous, even they admit that. Okay? So, and to use it for a maximum period, I think it's 15 minutes, is a maximum dose per day. Now, what's worrying is last week they announced that perhaps the landline was going out of fashion, and they wouldn't be putting landlines in soon. Everything will be mobile phones. Okay, so keep going back if you would, yeah. Let's see if there's anything else you want to do on that one. Because you started really very, very well. Got worse from then on. Keep going right back to the beginning. Keep going. Right to the beginning. That's it. We were nice there. You know, see, this is, here is an excellent one. Look at that one. If you took that one in isolation, you've got a perfect cardiograph. Absolutely perfect. Double the height of that. And look at the width distance there. So relaxed in between. So much blood going into that heart. And then, you see, they're not always like that. You know, everybody, you know, gets good beats and they get bad beats. But that is the perfect, the epitome of a good beat. It's a pity they weren't all like that. Okay, right. So let's do it again, shall we? So cancel that one now. And we're doing another recording now. That's really fuzzy it's coming out, isn't it? It's what? Yeah, you can hardly read it. Okay, so guys, are you all ready? Are you live with your phone? You've got a message coming through? Have you got somebody meeting? Someone ringing? Okay, so what we're going to do now, okay, is have another recording. And what are you going to do with it?
Right, I'm going to bring it shortly. Okay?
So he's got a device that he's going to put on and see if it protects her from the electromagnetics effect on the heart. Because the heart is electrics. There's a very, very small little area which we talked about in phonocardiography too. The SA node and the AV node are the pacemakers, and they're very sensitive to changes in electromagnetic fields when you think about it. When you're ready. think what it shows is how common it is for hearts not to be regular. They should be regular, but we very, very rarely find somebody has identical heartbeats all the way through. Are we still recording, or you've gone off now? What? Oh, you switched off. That's good to know. Are you sure you stopped the cardiograph? Ah, that could be the point. No. What do you tell us? Should you use the microphone? Is the microphone on? Can you plug Gary back in, he says. You've unplugged Gary.
No, you got to look what when you took the headphones out for. That's it. There is where the phone was ringing.
Right, so when the
That's
phone...
when I added the device. The phone's still ringing, but it started.
So I think on the first one that we did, there was definitely a drop in the output, the cardiac output, when the phone was there. So no athlete should run with a mobile phone in their pocket. But whether that decreases the performance of the heart if you put the phone in the breast pocket normally, I would think you probably... I'd like to see that more often done and see whether that's consistent, that it drops down, you know, over sort of 10, 12 people, where there's nice cardiac output which is regularly there, and then the phone comes on. Remember, it's when the phone is on, not when it's just switched on, but when there's an actual message coming through, as if you're holding a conversation, because that's when the microwaves come down and when the radiation affects you. So we could run some through that, but when you first did it on the first recording, I can see when it goes down. So what your device is hopefully it allows the heart to pick back up again, so it protects you from the electromagnetic radiation. Okay, could we do one more? We'll do one more reading without anything, and then we can use that one to play back to Chrissy. So this time we just want a 20-second job. Second nice cat, first second nice cat. You can read this as it goes along. Beautiful there, good. Some very nice beats in there, some pretty low ones there, some pretty equal ones. So it's a mixture, isn't it? It's a nice mixture. And she's just sitting there doing nothing, but how much it's varying in the intensity. Well, that'll be enough. So what we know is that the speed of the heart is inherent through the pacemaker, through the SA node to the AV node, but we can speed it up. So we can speed a heart up by the sympathetic intervention, sympathetic nervous system intervention, and we can slow it down by parasympathetic or vagal innervation. So we can alter it, speed up. The thing that changes the size of the beat to the demand, we've got bigger ones, is sympathetic activity. So if somebody has a sympathetic reaction, like that, you'll get a whew, like that, okay? But it won't last, okay? So the sympathetic system can come in and make the heart beat stronger. So what we're looking at on average is the ratio of the first to the second. So on here we would say the ratio is not brilliant. There are some good ones, but on the other hand, if we play it back, there's also some not very good ones. Nothing drastic, but you see this one, the first sound is very small. That's her major cardiac output, which should be twice the size of the second sound. So there's beats when we're hardly getting any out, and there's beats when it's pretty good. So, you know, nothing too serious there. But if you're a top athlete or ice hockey player and things, you want to be, you know, as near to perfection as we can. So what we now move is to the bench. So we'll take the computer with us, we'll unplug where applicable. We'll just test the subscapularis muscles to show you that it is the subscapularis muscle which is the weakness. So subscapularis muscle on the left. You'll notice, and subscapularis on the right. You'll notice Jill's keeping the hand flat. Do not allow a contraction of the fists, and because this will alter the distal muscles. If you contract a distal muscle, it may cause inhibition or change of the more proximal muscles. So we'll now plug in, and for the first time now she'll listen to her own heart, and we'll check the muscle. And basically what we're doing is a feedback system. We're saying in relationship to your heartbeat, how do you like listening to it? So remember the story I told you when I first did this with the patient I had who said, I don't like this. And I said, why, what's the matter? She said, I don't know, I just don't like it. She said, so I said, well, just bear with it and let's see what comes up. And she said it reminded her of being in her mother's tummy. And I said, well, is that a bad thing? And she said it was, because my mother never wanted me. And I thought after that, whose heartbeat does the baby hear in their tummy? Do they hear their own heartbeat, or do they hear their mother's heartbeat? I think they hear their own heartbeat. So when you cast yourself back and you're listening actually to the very heartbeat that you listened to for 9 months or however months you're in your mummy's tummy. And of course your heartbeat will vary depending upon the hormones and the chemicals within the mother's placental circulation. So if the mother really didn't want the child, she's going to produce chemical messengers which are not ones of love, are they? And the baby is going to pick this up, and it'll change its heart rate accordingly. So after that I thought, you know these stories that you hear, you play the mother's heartbeat to a child who doesn't sleep. I don't think it's the baby's heartbeat you need to change. It's the baby who listens to their own heartbeat. The mother's heart's a mile away in comparison to, you know, the baby down there. That's my theory with it anyway. So let's have a listen, and let's play test the left subscapularis. Beautiful. Let's test the right one. So the right one should be strong. Let's do the emerald now. So we take the headphones off, put the emerald on, put the headphones back on, because it's nicer to be able to work, you know, with any old muscle. Perfect. Now do the eye positions to find out which eye position strengthens. So remember we do the habituation, so we go to the left and up 3 or 4 times. Make sure you've got a nice long arm to do this. Okay, that strengthens to nutrition. Eyes to the left, straight across. Now, eyes to the left and down for structure. Okay, deep breath in and out. In. I've chosen Christine because she did weaken to mauve. That's why. Okay, so we're all right there. Eyes to the right and down for allergy. So things that cause inflammation is allergy, toxins, and infections. Okay, those 3 things are the main causes of inflammation in the body. Okay, where have we got? Round and round? Is it? No, eyes to the right, sorry. You go. Yeah. And up and down. So she's strengthening to hypoxia, which practically most of the nation does, and nutritional, is it? Okay, so nutrition. Now, what I would do for the nutrition is let's go through the composites. Nutrition means the things we mentioned earlier on. It means amino acids, it means vitamins, it means minerals. Potentially it could be fatty acids and carbohydrates. So let's do, which one are you doing? Amino acids?
Vitamins.
Okay, vitamins. You remember vitamins are the inert vitamins, but they may be active in the case of vitamin C, so it's not a vitamin, okay? So now let's do minerals. So she strengthens to minerals, okay? So now, what do we think about with minerals? Two things, magnesium and begins with a Z. Okay. Magnesium, let's try magnesium. Now we can use the mixtures there because Christine is a blue and therefore she's going to favour sulfates. So let's do magnesium. The ionic magnesium contains the sulfate. Oh, nice, okay, and let's do zinc, just to be sure. Now, so 90% of the time it's going to be magnesium or zinc, isn't it? We know that because that's what you guys buy. Okay, how often do you buy potassium, sodium, many of the other things? Hardly at all in comparison. Okay, so we got magnesium. Okay, so leave that one on. Now we're going to need some the smart magnesium and the liquid magnesium in a glass. Clive, could we have some smart magnesium and a glass and the liquid magnesium? So what we'll do now is we'll test which is the better, the liquid or the capsules. It's what? All right. Has anybody got a pot of smart magnesium that they could donate as a couple of capsules just for testing purposes? Let's do the, well, I'll tell you what, let's do the liquid first, and then we'll know, won't we? So what we'll do is we'll do the liquid one, and we'll see how much she shows to. So remember what we're looking for now is the dose. So the dose is how much strengthens, and then we'll take it from there. So let's see how many strengthens. Have you taken magnesium before, Christine? No, but you have taken it before. Okay. So let's see how much needs. So you can use use it dry, Jill. Use that. Oh, you got another glass there. Okay. With measuring the liquids, we just get into the habit of using it neat because you're not going to give it to the person, and so it's not going to be a couple of drops. So put in a couple of squirts to begin with. Thanks. So shooting it in twos, it's probably going to be 10 or more. Now the liquid magnesium is really quite potent. It's in ionic form, which means basically it's how the body would absorb it. All right. Now there is technically an amount that you can dissolve in the water. Once the solution becomes saturated, that means it can't take any more, all right? And then it'll crystallize back out again. And that works out at about, if I remember, 17 milligrams per squirt. So it is impossible to get more magnesium per squirt, okay? Because people turn around and say, well, the capsule contains 100 milligrams of elemental magnesium, which is true. It does. 8 squirts. Okay, now, the big test here is, let's compare with... Kate's very kindly given us these with the capsules. Okay, so let's compare one capsule. Okay, now, two capsules in comparison to 8 squirts, all right? Right, now for this big challenge, okay? The mastermind challenge. Right brain, she now hums. So leave the capsules on and get her to hum. Okay. Whip round the other side. Sometimes I just swap the... Okay, and now the mathematics. 3's away from 100, unless she's a genius at it. She holds very nicely. Okay, take the capsules off and put the glass back on. Okay, humming. Okay, and now carry on with the mathematics from wherever we were. Yeah, so that's all right. So both work. She's not worried which one. They both hold up. So if one weakens, then you obviously use the other one. Okay. So whichever. Would you like liquids, madam, or would you like capsules? Capsules, okay. A lot of people find capsules more convenient. Other people prefer the liquids because they can't swallow capsules. You know, some people gag, especially children and things. Okay, so you can leave the marker on now. You don't have to hold the glass on there. That's magnesium. That's the smart one. It's a mixture of sulfate and chlorides, but it suits her fine. Okay, we could use just the sulfate solution on its own, but because we've only got the ionic there. Okay. Right. So now, is that the only thing she needs to suffice her nutrition? Which position did it? The eyes to the left and up, wasn't it? All right. That was the position that clicked us in to know there was a nutrition. So she's strong. So now take her eyes back into that position again, 3 or 4 times, and see if she stays strong. She does. That's it. Do you understand? If she'd gone weak, what? Yes, of course. She's got the magnesium on. Right? I want to know if magnesium's the only thing she needs. If she'd gone weak, it would have indicated there's something else that she needs. All right, so we know magnesium is all she needs, okay, in the nutrition field. But we still got the hypoxia. Let's flick her up and down now. Okay, she should go weak because we still haven't completed that aspect. Okay, now we're away. So hemoglobin, okay, phospholipid marker, and CoQ10. Let's see which one she comes up. Do the phospholipid first. Okay, now we just sort of activated that up and down. She goes back into weakness. She'll stay in weakness. Hemoglobin. CoQ10 just to finish it off. So it's getting nice. It's getting quicker now, isn't it? You'll be getting the gist of it. We'll be home for the football later. Is there any football tonight? Yes. Okay, so ALA. So we're going now into ALA. She does not strengthen to, all right? Follow it on your chart, okay? PBG. No. So now uroporphinogen. Now CopPro. Following, David? It's, okay. CopPro. Strong. What does that mean? Have a look at the chart. It means there's a blockage between uroporphinogen and CopPro, isn't it? Strengthens to CopPro, so she should weaken to uro. But we'd have to take the headphones off if we do that, of course, because... What? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so she should be nice and strong, but if you put the uroporphinogen on, she'll go weak. Okay? And at this stage you can say, I know, she's a mauve. Isn't she? We know she's a mauve because what can she do with uroporphinogen? She's got to shunt it to the side. And in the presence of light, she will create superoxide, which will reduce to hydrogen peroxide, and bang, you've got it. Eyes and all the others. Tell us all about your medical history now. Joints aching, all right? Is she pouring hydrogen peroxide on her joints? Which joints? Knees, yeah. That's the one it likes to go for, the knees. I suppose because it's got a bigger surface area. Where else? Thumbs. Oh, doesn't that get people, the thumbs? Particularly women, isn't it? The thumbs. Bit of IBS, yeah. Irritable in there. And Harper's talks a lot about that with the gut, and it doesn't explain why. Abdominal pains and things. Thyroid. Isn't it lovely how it's all coming out now? What do you like with wine and beer? Fine. Chewy Chester on it, so that's the thing. Okay. All right, so we could look down that list and we could say, well, let's have a look at all the enzymes in there. But she may be a little bit more chemically sensitive than ideal with the cytochrome P450. She may pick, do you ever pick up bugs or anything? Not very much. So probably nitric oxide, myeloperoxidase are not big issues there. But you begin to pick up which bits there may be. So you could test her for all those anyway. So let's just really put the mauve on now, shall we? So let's take everything off, put the mauve on, and let's now test her with the lutein, shall we? Remember, lutein is not what you're deficient, it's blotting paper. And it's damn good blotting paper. And it's a lot nicer to take the capsule than eat the kale, I think. Raw kale takes a bit of doing. Okay, so remember our champion is 6, aren't you? I think, Kevin, were you 6? And you're tying with Mark at the moment. But the champion of all seminars is 16. So a 1, a 2, a 3, joint pains, a 4, a 5, oh, she's tying. All 3 are the same. All 3 need 6. Okay. Right. It's up to her if she wants to do this or not. You know, it really is, because if the eyes are an issue, and you tell us about your eyes. I know you said you wore glasses, but
I've got glasses which when I'm tired I use, but I try not to use them.
yeah. And do you find you need them indoors more than outdoors? Yes. So it's the same thing. So they're light. And what do you like outdoors in the light?
I like it.
You like it? No, you don't go around wearing 3 hats or anything. So she's like most of us, a bit better to reading in the brighter light, but it's whether she can take the bright. What about driving at night?
Yeah, the headlights are.
They see it's coming. She can't quite shut that pupil down when the light is really intense, like the car lights, particularly the halogen bulb ones. Yeah. So we're beginning to sort of see things. So, you know, I would, if they're really worrying you, I would take the lutein for a period of time as we're beginning to get everything else. But the real thing with you would appear to be... Oh, we haven't done the P5P, have we? No. Okay, back to the drawing board. We've got to find out the P5P, because that enzyme is P5P dependent. So we'll go back and we'll go to the high level of uroporphinogen. Take the... put the headphones back on, yeah. Put the other nutrients, the magnesium back on. Okay, so what are we going on now? Yeah, good. And P5P. Well, let's get her back into weakness to know that the P5P does the job there. Okay, you may, because she's got the magnesium, you may need to flick her eyes up and down because we've taken it off. That's it. Just to get us back into the program again. Okay, now put the P5P. We know it's P5P because that's the only nutrient in that. Okay, so which P5P is that? Okay, so do the challenge now. Okay, hum. And the higher maths. She's singing left brainer. Yeah. So now do the capsules. So she fails on the liquid, okay? So in other words, it's too quick. It gets a shot in. She needs the capsules are better here. Okay, so hum. And then carry on with the maths of where it was she left off. She's still in the 90s.
Strong on that.
Oh, good. Okay. You can, in many people, you can actually hear as they do it. They just can't add, subtract. And then when they got the right nutrient on, it's amazing how it clicks in and they're much better with it. Okay. So you need to do a dose. Have we got some smart P5P? Any smart P5P left? Capsules. Must be down to the last ones, I hope. 2 left. Right. Oh, a few. With the rice bran, I found that people need approximately half the P5P on its own. So the rice bran, because it slowly distributes it at time release, people need much less of it than the ordinary just pure P5P. So it's a big revolutionary move forward because the dose that people need is so much smaller. Ooh. 4. Oh, not too bad. Okay, so 4. So this is the real cause of the mauve. The real cause of the mauve is the lack of P5P. All right? Okay, now so take everything, all the nutrients and things off, and we'll do it round the other way now. So the lutein will act as a blotting paper. She's actually deficient in magnesium. All right, you understand that. From the nutrition point of view, she needs a little extra magnesium. Okay, but from the genetic point of view, she needs P5P. Okay, so let's take the headphones off. All right, and if we didn't do this at all, we'd just do it the alternative way, is using the B&E points. Okay, so now let's go. Everything's off. Do the B&E points. So just go round now. So we do small intestine. Gallbladder, triple warmer. Okay, you probably all got your own method of doing it. You know, I have mine, and never trust patients to know where the points are when they do it themselves. So where you got? Large intestine, oh dear. Okay, so now we do the yin ones. Tell the patient what they're doing. You're going around the yang points. These are the ones that begin or end on the face. And then we're doing the yin and explain about, you know, yin and yang. It's a balance. So we're going down to circulation. Heart. Spleen. Oh, liver, is it? Okay, last one, really. That was making you sweat, wasn't it? When you're up on stage there and you get to the last one, you know it's got to be that one. Okay, so stay hold of this the spleen and cross-check now with the other hand to the large intestine. Does the large intestine negate the spleen? Yes. So which is the primary? The large intestine. Okay, the one that negates is the key one. So finger now on the large what we do is we go for the spleen first. Okay. Okay. So we're going to stay on the spleen. Now, the spleen is the phenotype. Okay, this is where she's coming from right now. The genetics of the one that remove it is where her genetics are, her genotype. This is the key bit. So start thinking genotype, phenotype. So where her problems are at the moment is the spleen, which is related to the immune system, etc., etc. Okay, so she's going to touch on the spleen first of all. Now, if you take her eyes to the left and up, you'll find that will strengthen her. Yes, right? Now put the magnesium on, so you don't have to do the whole thing again. You just put the magnesium on, which is where we are. So we know that she's deficient. Excellent, okay? Right. If you go, stay like that, okay, stay on the spleen, and now just test her up and down. She should be fine on the up and down. Okay. Good. Okay, and then do the eyes to the left again, left and up, and that just makes sure there's nothing else in that department. Okay, exactly what we found with the cardiograph. Okay, now take the hand off and you go to the large intestine. We've dealt with the phenotype. Now we deal with the genotype. This is the real McCoy of where the problem is. Okay, now you go up and down and you'll see the hypoxia. Okay. Whereas if you do eyes to the left now, eyes to the left and up, okay, she probably won't go strong because we've already fixed that department. Okay. It's interesting because eyes to the left and up is nutrition. So why is she showing, as you'll see up and down, now put the P5P on. So you'll find pyridoxal 5-phosphate, the capsules, isn't it, which are the one with her, should strengthen her. And now go up and down and see if there's anything else. No. Okay? And the nutrition, you can do the nutrition. So P5P doesn't show up as a nutrition. Isn't that interesting? Because it's not. It's not a nutrition. B6 is a nutrition. It's a coenzyme that the body makes after you've taken the B6. Do you see why it's important? It's the genetics. It's her inside genetic. That's why it's the genotype that you're looking at. The primary meridian is a reflection of the genotype. The secondary meridian is the phenotype. Okay? So you'll find that nutrition will show up on the other one, but it'll be mainly, and of course how we pick up a coenzyme is on the energy pathway and the hypoxia, because all those vitamins and minerals show up on the energy production. It's where they're used, because the coenzymes are the energy producers, and the energy is life. Okay? But it's interesting, I couldn't work that out for a long time. Why does pyridoxal 5-phosphate not show in the nutrition period? Because it's not a nutrient. B6 is the nutrient, pyridoxine, okay? So this is why we almost know that the genotype will be a coenzyme in people. Okay? This is why you really need to know your coenzymes. If you've done the functional genetics course that we did back in November, you know, really have a look at it on the internet, because you'll see which are the markers for each one. The only one I can remember accurately is B6, because that's my own one, pyridoxal 5-phosphate. So that's a G into T. So if you put G, she would weaken and T would negate it. So you've got a polymorphism. And because this is the most common one, you know, you may want to study this if this is your one, because there's many different reasons why this can occur. It could be acquired during our lifetime, or it could be inherited. And the chances are it's probably inherited. And the thing that did this years ago, we now know that toxic metals can create genetic problems, and we know that chemicals can do it and radiation can. But years ago it was infections that caused these, and Hahnemann was the first person, the homeopathic person who founded homeopathy, advocated homeopathy, was the first person to use the word miasms as inherited characteristics. And he had 4 diseases which were the miasms, and that was smallpox and tuberculosis, syphilis and gonorrhea. And gonorrhea is the one for pyridoxal 5-phosphate we found. Okay? So it's true that if you go back in people's family, you know, syphilis and gonorrhea are supposed to last for 7 generations of intermarrying and, you know, hoping you work the genes out. But it goes out of the family after about 7 generations. So you don't have to go back many generations before you found syphilis and gonorrhea. If you think about it, in 1700, 1800, it was rife, absolutely rife in the world. Not just, you know, in Britain, but, you know, when they dug up soldiers from different campaigns in 1800, they were all syphilitic. There was no protection against these things. It was just almost the normal thing. You know, tertiary syphilis, people died of it in there. I'm not suggesting you've got gonorrhea, and I'm not suggesting your parents had got it, or, you know, it could be something that was acquired. And it may be, remember, acquired from toxic metals, or chemicals, radiations, etc. But if you were to go just take the P5P off, okay, stay touching the large intestine, and now get pyridoxine out, in other words, from the basic nutrition kits there, it was plain B6. Okay, and what you should find here on a genetic problem is that B6 does nothing. So she is not short of B6. She mustn't go home and think, oh, I ought to look up all the foods with B6, because it won't make any difference. The only food that she should eat which will help activate B6 and make it more effective is brown rice. Brown rice is the only thing that I've found so far which will work and click for people who need P5P. Okay, and that's why we put brown rice fibre, brown rice bran, into the smart P5P because it makes sense. I don't put wheat bran in there or any other bran because it doesn't work. Only the rice bran works. Okay? And it's very difficult to get good, organic, whole, pure rice bran. We found it's a tremendously difficult thing. You'd expect you could find it anywhere. But what they do with it, I don't know.
Chris, because she needs that, does she need to take it for a lifetime?
Yes. She can take it now, and she'll probably drop to 1 capsule after maybe 2 weeks, maybe a fortnight, and maybe 2 weeks, maybe a month. She'll drop down to 1 capsule, keep her on that, and she'll go away for holidays and forget to take it. 2 or 3 weeks later, she'll say, "Oh, Chris, all my symptoms have come back. I feel awful. I feel worse than ever when the symptoms come back." So go back on your P5P, and she'll need to go back on the 2 again. So it's better to just drop it down and then stay on them like a maintenance. So if it drops, she might have been 1 squirt or something like that. It's the amount of P5P her body needs that she's not able to recycle. Okay? She's obviously able to activate some B6, otherwise she wouldn't have got this far. Ooh. She obviously wouldn't have been able to be alive this far. But we don't know the percentage. It's just which of the alleles it is. She's drawn the short straw. So what she needs there is a addition of 25 milligrams or 50 at the moment of milligrams in order to get her body to work optimally. But she's probably always been like this. If she's inherited this in her constitution, she's always been like it. So if she'd had this when she was a youngster, life would have been very different, wouldn't it? If you think about it with children, if they had what we know now, that opportunity to say, well, this child needs B12 or whatever it might be, they would never have the difficulties in their health and learning problems. You know, you think about the children who got PBG, you know, the high monolytic excitatory toxin, if only their parents had known, or we'd known, that all they need is higher doses of B6, zinc and maybe magnesium to get the thing under control. Okay, you've done very well. So I think we've done it forwards and backwards and sideways. So we've tapped it, we've done it, we've checked phospholipids, we've checked coenzymes, we've gone through the different folates there, we challenged the mauve, we looked at the lutein, we've told her to stay out of the bright light, keep in the dark, we've done the mauve. Right, okay, so any questions, any pointing questions to today's seminar that you want to sort of talk about? I've cut out a lot because the notes, there's lots in the notes there as far as looking at the phospholipids in greater detail, which you can do. There's lots in the notes about aerobic and anaerobic reactions, and we've done that in the past with the energy module, so you can look those up. The only differences I want to stress is that when people are exercising aerobically, and that aerobic depends upon the formula that you use, if you're age 50, we tend to use the formula of 180 minus your age for the maximum pulse rate. So if you're 50, you want to go to 130 as your maximum aerobic pulse, right? So that's what we call aerobic exercise. And when you're at aerobic exercise, maximum aerobic pulse, you will find that you will use up to 50 times the amount of oxygen. 50 times. Okay, that's enormous, isn't it? Absolutely phenomenal, the amount of oxygen. So where does that oxygen come from? And most of it, with exercise, will be myoglobin. So it's very important to have myoglobin stores, so you know as your reserve of not only your glycogen for your sugar, your glucose, but your myoglobin should be. And myoglobin is exactly the same as hemoglobin. Slightly different pattern of the amino acids there, but it's your reserve tank of the oxygen in the muscle tissue. So if you're low in hemoglobin, you're going to be obviously be low in myoglobin as well. So this is when it starts to make substantial differences to human performance and stamina. Okay, so anybody got any interesting sort of comments that they want to make? Anybody think that they have mauve badly? Yes. Okay. What?
I'm very bad.
You're very bad. What sort of symptoms do you have?
Well, I've got very bad eyes.
Bad eyes, yeah. So tell us about your eyes.
I've had a detached retina
Yeah.
and some cataracts. I've had 3 operations.
Yeah. So this would be marvellous for you, wouldn't it, for somebody to sort of catch and say, look, this is what you can do, to start sort of slowing this whole process down. Anybody else got detached retinas or any other visual, apart from accommodation problems? Anybody got any macular degeneration, glaucomas? You got? Yeah, he's got glaucoma. Yeah. Okay. Do you have any of the other symptoms that we described there? You know, with that whole mixture, most of us have got some of those. What?
The only other health issue is I've got a damaged kidney, which I formed.
Yes.
Not really healthy. Horrible eyes.
Yes. Okay. Right. So, anybody else got any questions or comments?
Question on diabetic retinopathy.
Diabetic retinopathy, yes.
Yeah, but I might have a problem with the macular or bleeding.
Yeah. So that's definitely something which needs attention, isn't it?
So, do you use this approach?
Oh yes, yes. You can use it for anything. It just happens when this comes up. So you would treat people and test them in the same way that we did. You'd do either your phonocardiograph first, or the beginning and ending points, or either or both, whichever you want. Depends on the time, really, doesn't it? And you then enter into the positive, find the genotype and the phenotype, and then do the eye positions to know which department you're going in. So I think we ought to finish off with Sylvie and just find her parasite, will you? We're all dying to know what it is.
It explains a lot about the amount of people, the number of people that we actually meet, the older people who now just need knee replacements. You know, it's amazing. You know, we have a group of about maybe 100 to 130 in a while, and recently I know of 6 who've had knee replacements.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're not that successful, I find.
No,
They're awful things to get them straight after. They always swell. And what amazes me is the number who seem to get infections with it. And, you know, a friend of mine in the States, you know, very well-known kinesiologist, terrible state, having had a knee done. And, you know, he's on a frame. And he was...
most of them only just stick to the one, they won't have the other one done.
no. Okay, where did we get to with you? So large intestine. So it's the large intestine or the spleen. What was the primary meridian? Was the large intestine. So it's the spleen. Yes, that's right. So we want to work off the spleen, which is the immune system. So if you remember what we did, so it was the spleen, and then we did the round, and that's as far as we got. So what we now need to do is to go back and touch the spleen. Let's hope that you're still the same. Okay, that's strengthened to round and round, circumduction. And now we're going to put the Parasite composite on. It could be a bacteria, but with its large intestine, we tend to favour parasites. Yeah. Okay, so we could go through, we've got quite a nice new anti-parasitic AP formula, which is wormwood, garlic, thyme, horseradish, and cayenne pepper. Yeah, that frightens the living daylights out of any parasite in there when that lot comes down. Is there an AP formula there? There should be. I think Jane put one in. Quite a time. People tend to often say, ring up a week, or it hasn't worked. Parasites go in cycles, and this is the thing you have to remember. All the forms, the thing that makes a parasite is it has more than one life cycle. So it's got 2 or more. And if you don't keep at it, you just calm down, everything's fine, and then a few more eggs hatch, and you're back to square one again. So you need to actually activate it on and on and on. And when you're sure they've gone, then you give a maintenance dose of a couple of doses a week, like on a Monday and a Thursday, for a month, and then once a week for a month. Because I think we all get, you know, there's no question about it, we all get parasites, okay, or the eggs. We don't eat parasites, we eat the eggs. They're on the food, they're in the water and so on. What's that? AP? Strengthens it quite nicely? Okay, right, okay, what do we do? Okay. We can hum. Good. And we can do higher maths. 88 or she's holding, okay. All right. How many does she need? Oh, have we got a pot? Oh, right, okay, don't bother. Okay. So we've got, we work the dose out now, how many capsules strengthen her, and then we do the different timings to find out how many times a day. We don't know, there's no test really that you can actually do for how long she needs to take it. You just have to do a verbal challenge on that or get them back in. You know, I don't know, Sam, how often do you leave your patients on?
About
4 weeks. Anybody else like to, you know, so you do 6 weeks. Lorraine, how long do you do? 4? 4. It's because you trained with Sam, was it? Okay. So 4 to 6 weeks is not unusual. Does that answer? Because I think, you know, generally we take people off too soon sometimes. But if they're beginning to get irritation from the remedy, then they can cut it down. Because horseradish in that mix does cut down. I tend to favour spices. Would you mind just testing her with some of the spices? I think the culinary spices are really very good because they have antimicrobial properties. The spices are not just for food flavouring. They have antimicrobial. That's why they were used originally to preserve food before fridges and things. And also they have medicinal values because they have antibacterial properties. And they spice up the cytochrome P450s, so they help to detoxify. Coriander works well. Try it on both legs, or both brains. No. Okay, keep going and try a few more. Just let's see. So coriander's a little bit okay, but not as good as the AP so far. But it's nice if you can find a spice for yourself, because you can use that then culinary on an ongoing basis to say that is my genetic one, if you like, the thing for me. And hopefully it's a spice that you like. Hopefully. Ginger, lucky thing. Right, hum. Ginger. Okay, maths.
79, 70.
No. You like ginger? You got you.
I don't like coriander.
No. It got as far as 79 and then they failed. Couldn't go. Okay, next slide. Try cloves.
Do you ever find a tincture as well?
Tinctures are more systemic, yeah? And she could have tincture and you can use the tincture as a tea. Yeah. I think when you found the one, we're sort of finding a few helping her, but I think you might find, use the tincture otherwise and we'll just see whether she strengthens to it. Jane Miner. Jane, is there a clove, a packet of cloves, the capsules there anywhere? Here we are. So try cloves. Cloves have traditionally been anti-parasitic, haven't they? All the work of Holger Clark with the wormwood cloves and black walnut there. And cloves are a nice one. How many are you putting on? Putting 3 on, that's all right. So, okay. Good. Maths.
79, 76, 73.
No? Oh, she failed. AP. Okay, we'll leave her on AP. All right. Okay, so in the middle of September, we do our annual update, which covers off all the things that we talked about over the last 12 months since the last annual update. And where applicable, some new ideas to integrate. We try and make it very informal, those who've been before. It's 2 days of good fun. It's informal. We try and workshop as much as we possibly can as well. And it's very practical and it's very clinical. So we try and put it in the thing with ideas and things that you can work with your patients next time. So that'll be a review of the year's work plus some new things. And then we'll come in with our new group of seminars in October, November. October in Bristol, November here. I'm not quite sure the title of the first ones yet. We'll decide that over the summer. Okay, so that's it, Gary. You can go home now.